consumer, as a company, as a patient, how it would work for managing appointments, or even saving data about specific patients or clients, or any other scenario that you may need these kind of structures. Right, Fernando? What's the idea of the tool that we're going to build today?
Yes, like Bruno said, this is mainly an idea to show you guys how does the list component works, how you would build an app with this sort of structure. It doesn't have to be something related to the medical field. It doesn't have to be health related. This could just as easily be, for example, student records and a way to control absences or grades or something like that. But the idea here is very simple: is to create a patient database in which you can have their photo, you can have their personal information, you can have like contact info, and then be able to add a appointment records to them. So if, for example, you have an appointment with Andrew today, you can just click on appointment, and then you can write a brief summary of what's going on, if they're like complaining about back pain, if they have some other sort of issue that they had to have a look at today. So the idea here is that uh, you could very easily just add some new patients to this database, and then you can just click on appointment history, and then you have this database of everything that has ever happened that you've written down and so on, and you have this search bar here on top, so you could just let me see everything that has ever happened to Julia, and then you can select Julia, and it's going to filter that. Or maybe you want to see what happened last week, so you can just click on this interval button, and then just say, oh, just let me see what happened between Monday and Wednesday, and so it filters it, it searches for you. So this is the idea. It's a very simple to use template, but it goes through some concepts that important to know about Jester. So like we said before, it's not about having a health form. It's not about having like a health oriented system. But the idea here is that you could just as easily tweak this template, so you could use for other industries. So you could use for education, so you could use for like a client database or something like this. So I'm just going to run through the structures that you need, and then I'm going to build the app itself. So I'm going to enable the builder mode, which is this switch on the top here, and this will allow me to go to construct things here. So I'm just going to show you guys the two kinds of tables we have here. So if you think about it, we have mainly two databases. One for the patients themselves, so that's their personal information. And then you have one for the appointments, and then you can have multiple appointments pointing to the same patient. So the idea here is that you have connected tables, you have connected information, and then you could just as easily click on here to create an appointment to that specific patient. So what's the structure behind both of these databases? So first one is patients. It's this one that I'm showing here on my screen. So you can see that we have just a few fields. You could add more. You could have contact info. You could have more information regarding like personal data. But just for this example, what we did here was a photo of the patient. So it's easy to see on the database who that person is. You have the main field, the one that is created with the table, is the first name. You have a text field for the last name. You have a birth date. You have a single option field for sex, so you have male and female, and then you have a rich text field for health history. So, for example, you run through the patient with some questions to see if they have something in their family, if they have like a history of cancer in the family, if they have a previous condition, and so on. I added here another field for blood type, so you can select here. It's a single option because a person cannot have two types of blood type at the same time. And then you have a formula field. This is just for convenience because if I have the first name and the last name, I want to have last name, comma, first name, so it is a little bit easier to see things. It makes it a little bit easier to sort by alphabetically and see people from the same family closer together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And then you have a button for the appointment. Before I get into this, I'm just going to go to the appointment table. So this is the second structure that we have here, appointments. It's another table. So basically, for the appointment, you have a connection field pointing to a patient. So I'm going to edit this field so you guys can see. It's a connected records field. It's N-to-one. This means multiple different records, multiple different appointments can point to the same patient. This makes sense because if you have a recurring patient, they can have an appointment today and one next week and one next month and so on. And you can see here that I'm sorting by their full name, which was the formula. This makes it a little bit more convenient. And I can select the icon for this connection and the color for it. So overall, this is the end result. It's a little bit more visual than just having a generic tag field. You also have the title for that appointment. So this is basically just a little summary of what the reason was for that appointment. Maybe it's routine, maybe it's, they schedule it because there was something very specific that was happening that day. So the idea here is that you provide a little summary. So for example, John has complained that that his vision is a little bit foggy, so you can just write that. You have a date field for the date of appointment. This is important because later on you'll be able to sort by this date or filter through a date interval. And then you have notes, which you can basically see here that it's a rich text field. So if I wanted to have like during the appointment, if I wanted to write some information here to have more rich data about what happened that day, I could do it. So there's a rich text field and I can format it. I can have headings, bullet points, and so on. So I'm going to close this. So because of this connected field right here that points to a patient, this makes it so I can go back to the patient's table and have this field right here, which is a button that lets me add appointments to that specific patient. So because those tables are connected, I don't have to fill in the information manually. I can just click here. So Andrew, I'm going to create an appointment for him, and you can see that it's already connected here on the patient field. That's because this type of button, it already pre-fills the information for you. So this is the structure. We have two tables. They're relatively simple, but the idea here is that you can change it. Like I said before, you can have more information here. You can have like an email field for contact information, a phone field. On the appointments table, you could have a files field if for some reason, like if you want to like attach a PDF with X-rays file or so, something like that. So this is the structure, and now we're going to build the app, which, if you guys remember, it's a list with all the patients, and then we also have a separate page in which you have the history of all patients, but you have that filter which allows you to search for stuff. So I'm going to go here to home, and because the builder mode is switched on, I have these options here, which allow me to create a table or an app page. I'm going to create an app page. So this app, I'm going to name patient lists. I'm going to put live here so we know that it's the one that I'm building right now. So this is actually a very simple page. All I want here is to have a list view, which I can just search here. And just by clicking it, it's going to bring me an example of a list component. It has random information here. So I
One thing
want
that's
to see
important is that we created the tables, but we are not using directly the tables here for editing the information or displaying the information. So even if you want to show the table itself as a spreadsheet, or just to for them to use actually use this and everything, uh, it's not the table itself. It's just a view of the table that you are using there, that you may allow or not them to edit the information of your database. So that's important for avoiding mistakes and making a better usability of your tool as you're now building a list view. It's the same, it's using the same data of a table. That's why you're selecting a table, but it's not the same as directly editing the table itself. So it's safer, and also it's better if you're using it on a desktop, but even better if you're using on your phone, because it's really it's not the best experience if you're using a table in your phone.
exactly. So what I'm going to change here is that I want this list view to see the patients table, which I've already built. And then I have this option to sort by something. I'm going to sort by, I could start by first name or birth date. I'm going to sort by the full name, which is last name, comma, first name. So this is ascending, so that's okay. And what do I want on this cover part of the list field? I want the photo. If you want the photo to appear as it is on the screen right now, this um, structure in which the photo is on the left part of the list view and in enlarged, you have to use the image field as the first field here on this selection. So, okay, we have the photo. I want to see the birth date and, for example, sex and blood type. Also, I want to have the button to add appointments in this cover part. So I'm going to select the button appointment. For now, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to name this patients. This and description is going to be, this is a patient list. So let's keep it like this for now. So you can see that we have the same information that we had on the app that we created previously. So okay, I'm just going to edit this, and I forgot to add the search part of the component, so I can go here to the bottom and select display search, and I'm going to save this. So this is the list, which is exactly what we wanted before. You guys will see that if I click on the patient, it brings the standard window of gesture, and we're going to change that, but for now it's working as intended. So let's create another page, and what we're going to do here is name it appointment history. I'm also going to name it live, so I know that it's what I'm building right now. And this one is going just to have just a table. So like Bruno said, we're not using the table itself, the one that we've created. We're using a table component to see just the information that we want, and we can add some more settings and so on. So we're not exactly using the table directly, but we're embedding this into our app. So I'm going to name this appointment history, and this is going to get information from the appointments table. So now I can select all the information that I want on this reduced version of the table. So I want the patient, it's going to be the first thing that I want to see, the title of the appointment, the date, and the notes themselves. So I'm going to sort this by date descending. So more recent appointments are going to be on top, and then you have the history going down to the bottom. So We're going to save this. It's read-only, so people can't change it. So let's save just to see how it is. So this is exactly what I wanted. So this is the table. And then we have to create the filter, right? So I'm going to open the menu, click on create block, and I'm going to use this component, which is called search filter. So I'm going to click on it, and we're going to name it filter. It doesn't really matter much because this name doesn't appear anywhere. And we're going to add two buttons to it. So I'm going to click on add filter, and the first one is to select a patient, right? So if I want to see just things regarding Andrew, I can just click on this and select it. So I'm going to add this color, and I'm going to select the option record ID. Record ID means I'm going to select a record from some table. In this case, it's patient. Okay, so now I'm going to say when I select a patient, I'm going to filter this component, appointment history, by the field patient. So if I select Andrew, it's going to filter this table by all rows that have Andrew as a patient. And I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to add another button, and it's going to be date, select the color, and I'm going to select the option date range. Date range allows me to select a period of time, so like Monday and Friday, and then it's going to filter the component by this date range. So when I select a range, I'm going to filter this appointment history by the date of appointment. I'm going to deselect show border. I don't want borders here, so I'm going to create. There you go. So this is the filter. I'm just going to reposition some things here. Okay, so let's see if it works. Let me select a patient here. So Julia, and it filters correctly. And then I'm going to select an interval. Then it seems to be filtering correctly as well. You can use both at the same time. So I could filter for Andrew and then just like last month, and then I would be able to see all of Andrew's appointments last month. So that's mainly it for this part. So we have both apps and now both app pages, and then I'm going to bring them all together into a single app. So let's go back. I'm clicking on home. Let's go back to the patient list that I've just created. And then I'm just going to refresh my page. So there's not any cache, and I can select everything that I've created so far. And now I'm going to click on create block. So I'm going to search for menu bar. It's this option here. So what I'm doing now is creating the navigation menu, right? So this is what the end user is going to be seeing and using to navigate and use the platform. I can select what I want up there. So I'm going to rename it patient app, and then we can select colors for the top part of it and the menu part of it. So we can choose the grid or the spectrum. I want an even lighter blue, so that's it. And then I'm going to be able to select both the patient list and the appointment history pages. So let's save it. Oh, just realized that I built it in reverse, so let's correct that. There you go. So if I switch off the builder mode, this is what the end user is going to be seeing, right? So this is the menu, and they can go between each part. Okay, so there's just a couple of things that I want to switch here. Like I said before, if I click on a patient, this is the standard window or modal of gesture. It works, but I want to have something a little bit more customized than that. For creating a patient record and for updating patient information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch on builder mode again.
Another thing
And
that's interesting here is if you want to create a super form for the appointments and use the read-only option to share with them, uh, remind them of the time, or if they need to bring something like an ID or uh, any kind of comment and so on. So it could be also a way to use this.
exactly, so you could have also like a form for them to update their own information, right? So for weight or something like that. Um, So I'm going to create a super form for people who don't realize this. Like I said, we have standard parts of Jester, but the super form is basically the interface that you can plug into almost anything inside Jester and use that to input information. So you can use that to create data, you can use that to update data, and then you can plug it into different components so you can change the standard behavior of Jester. So what do I mean by that? So let's create a form, a super form for updating information. So I'm going to call this form patients info. So this is the patient's data. I'm going to remove the logo. You can see where it would go, but I don't want that right now. So let's remove it. Let's remove the cover. We want that simple. And this is something regarding the patient table. Um, so this is something that I'm going to be seeing when I click to update a patient, right? So this is a form for updating records. So I just have to click on this to switch it. And then I'm going to select the fields that are going to appear on the form itself. So I want the first name, I want the last name, I want the photo, I want the birth date, sex and health history, blood type, and that's it. So the first thing that I want is the photo. So I'm just going to drag it here up to the top. And first name and last name, I want them to be on the same row. So I'm going to add a block for inline. And then I'm going to sandwich the fields between the start and the end of the inline. Birth date, it's going to be just a single row. Sex, it's going to be you can change how you view single option fields. So I'm going to put in as button like. You guys are going to see the difference later. And for the blood type, I'm going to have just the standard view. So let's save it. So this is the form itself. So let's select for Andrew. And then we can see his photo, first name and last name. Like I said before, it's inline, it's on the same row, so we can customize that. Birth date, sex is a button-like field, so it's the same time as blood type is a single option, but we're seeing as different types of view. You have health history, and then you have blood type. Okay, so this is just a preview of what it's going to look like. I'm going to keep editing it. So let's come back here, and blood type is going to be just below sex. And now I want a wider form, and we're going to change the colors. We're nearly done. Okay, so let's save. So now we can edit the list view for the patients here. And down here, you can see that there's this record update form option. So by keeping it on, what we have when you click on the patient is the standard window that we've shown before. But if we switch off, we can select one of the forms that we created. So I'm going to select this patient info form, and this is going to be used instead of let's use full screen. This is going to be used instead of the standard window. And then we can also select things that are going to appear uh, on the window itself as well. So instead of open full screen, I'm going to open in center card wider, and then I'm going to be able to show chat and connected tables. So I'm going to save, save. So now if you click on John, now this is the way that we're going to change, update their information or consult information and so on. So we have the options here. There's still the chat, there's still the record connected data, but now it's a little, it's a bit more pleasant to use. It's a little bit more visual than the standard window. Uh, but one thing that you can notice is that the form is down here, right? So one thing that I could have done is created this form in a different app and select it from there. But another thing that we could do is just customize this app so it's not possible to scroll the page. I'm going to click on save. And now you can see that there's this limit, there's this line showing where the page ends. And I'm just going to drag the form here so it's not showing anymore on the app. And then if I click on save, I can scroll down there. I cannot see the form down there, but I can still use it. So we're going to create just one more form to finish this off, and it's going to be the form that we're going to use to create a new patient. So let's click on Superform, and this form is going to be called New Patient. Description is going to be use this form to create a new patient.
Another option that you have for the update form is to open it on the right panel, just because you have a list view. And for a new record, that's what we are going to do right now. Uh, Maybe using the full screen option is it's even better.
Yeah, all of this is customizable. So I'm creating a super form, customize the colors, and it's going to be a form that lets me create something in the patients table. So I'm going to add the fields that I want to use. So first name, last name, the photo is going to be the first thing. So I'm going to just drag and drop. And then we have birth date, sex, blood type, and health history. So photo, I'm going to leave it as optional. First name and last name are required. So I'm going to click on edit and click on required form field. Birth date is also required. Sex is required as well. And I'm going to change for button-like. And blood type is also required. And I'm going to change this to the standard view, because there's a lot of options. So if I leave it button-like or radio-like, it's going to use too much space. So this is okay for now, but I want to add a block for inline for first name and last name, just like we did before. And we're going to save this. We also have more blocks for like text and image and videos, but it's not going to be relevant here. So this is the form. We can see the preview of it. And when we click save, we cannot use it because it's below the scrollable part. So the last thing that I'm going to do here is click on create block and add a title bar. So this is one title bar. It's going to be automatically added to the top here. We're going to select the color, and we're going to keep this add record button which is going to add a patient. Um, Here you go. Create patient or add patient. And then, like we did before, we're going to disable the standard table rules, and then we're going to get the form for the new patient that we just created. Instead of opening in center card, we're going to open in full screen, and we're going to disable the search because it's not relevant right now. So let's save. So now we have this title bar here as well, and then we click on add patient, it's going to show this form. So we could just keep creating patients with the form that we've created before. And last thing that I'm going to do is just customize the icons here. So I'm going to go to this part, and then I'm going to, for patients, I'm just going to put a person emoji. And then we're going to go to the appointment part. Oh, here we go. And it's going to be calendar. So now we can go back to the app, refresh the screen. And this is the end result. So we have the app, we have this menu, which we can collapse, and it's still going to have the patient list and the appointment history. We have this menu down here, which is also customizable. We didn't get into too much detail about that. We have the patients list. We can click on this patient and see their information through the form that we created before. We can add a patient, and it's also going to have this other form that we created. We can click on appointment to quickly create an appointment for that patient, and then we can go to appointment history and search for a specific patient or for a period of time. So I think that's it, Bruno. I don't know if you want to add something to this template.
I think it's pretty complete. Like we went through lots of different features. As we said in the beginning, it's not only useful for patients and scheduling meetings and so on, but it's you could also apply this for other scenarios. And the idea here is to bring this as an example, and we will also upload this template in our store. So if you want to install this to test, try, it will be available soon together with the other templates that we already have there. So thank you guys and see you later.